Okay, so when we solve quadratics using square roots, we want to make sure to do when we're solving by square roots is we want to make sure we isolate the variable. Yes, PJ?
I have the answer for number 2.
So not yet, hold on. So what's different about number 2 than the factoring that we did before? Yes, Yusuf.
Oh, it's not a perfect square. Wait, number 2? Oh, I was looking at number 3. My bad.
How is it different from, say, x squared plus 5x plus 4 equals 0? How is it different from that? Only 2 terms. And what about what those 2 terms are? What's missing?
The x is equal to 5.
I don't want to know what the answer is. I want to know what's different about this here and this here. Because when we get them together, you're going to have to recognize when to use this method and when not to. What's it missing? Yes, very good. It's missing this 5x term, x term. It's called the linear term. So there's no x term here. It's just an x squared and then a number. So when it's like that, it lends itself to solving by taking square roots. So what would my first step here be to solve this?
Square root both of them?
Yes, because the square root undoes this square. This makes this x here. Questions on that? Because I can show you why that is if you're confused as to why we get x there.
No.
Okay, what's the square root of 25?
5.
5. We get 2 answers. What's my second answer?
-5.
-5. Really common to forget that -5. See how this is a 2 here? Almost always you're going to get 2 solutions because of that 2. That's what you read. So what do we do on number 3? What would our first step be to solve that one? We want to, which is what? Square root both sides. And so we don't have a square root of 50, do we? So what do we do on that one?
You gotta simplify it.
And how do we simplify the square root of 50? We're going to do a factor tree. That's very good that you knew that in your head. So this is 5 times 10, 5 times 2. So square root of 2 times 5 times 5, which would be 5 square root 2. Does that make sense? I need 2 answers. What's my second answer?
Negative.
Positive and negative. Okay, so here on 2 and 3, was the variable isolated already? Or do we have to do something to isolate it?
Then you have to square it?
On number 2 and 3, it was a variable isolated. Was it by itself on one side? Yeah. So what about number 4? Is the variable by itself?
No.
It's not. So I know Jimmy knows what to do. I want to hear from somebody else. What do we do to get that variable isolated? We're going to do some algebra here. Yes, it is. That's right. Good. Subtract 2 on both sides. And we get r squared equals what? Negative
14.
What?
Whoa. Square root of -14. Wait, it's -6. I jumped the
That's
step.
okay. That's okay. So now we want to know what r is. So what's going to undo that square? The square root. So we want to take the square root of both sides.
Negative.
So since this is a -16, r is going to be equal to
-4i.
I.
4i. And then what's my second answer?
-4.
-4i. So if you like, you can write your answer like this. This means the same thing as that. I don't care. I don't care which one you do. Either one. Okay, so what do we do first on number 5? Because the variable's not isolated yet. We want to, can I get a hand please for what we want to do on this one? Yes, Armani? That's right. So we divide by 8, and we get v squared is -30. What next? Jonah, what do we do next? So before we do that, what do we do with the square? Square root, good. And so what we want to do, we want to simplify that 30. Is the 30 going to simplify it all?
No.
It's not. The only numbers that go into 30 would be 5 and say 5 and 6, and then 6 would be 2 and 3. Doesn't get us anywhere. So this would be v equals, no pairs in that 30. What do we do with the negative inside the radical? I was bringing a lot of things together here. We don't. What does the negative inside the radical become? An I, that's right. So this is I square root 30 and negative I square root 30. Yes. You never heard it before? Yeah, we did a whole day of that. But that's all right. I mean, it's okay.
I definitely wasn't sick.
So in case you were wondering about the 30, let me just talk about it. This is 3 and 10, and then 2 and 5. No pairs here, so that's why we didn't do anything with that. We left the 30 by itself. So go ahead and do the U try.
No. How long? You get pretty much. No, I enjoyed it. I'm doing second. I probably can go tomorrow again. I don't skip Spanish. Oh, that's okay. So no. Really? Oh, that's cool. What happens next? So, now. Don't like it. Do like that. You eat it.
What?
You should get an answer of 3 square root 3 and negative 3 square root 3. Questions on that? Okay, on to the next example. So, is the variable isolated? No. So what do we do to isolate it? What do we do first? Minus 10 first. 7n squared is 28. Can I get a hand, please, for my next step? Go in. That's right. And we get n squared is 4. Next. Square root. And our answers would be 2n, negative 2. What do we do on number 8? Subtract 3 first. Jimmy, what do we do after that? Yep. So we get x squared is 8. Square root. And we get x is so this is 2 square root 2, and I'm just going to write it as positive and negative 2 square root 2. So both the positive and the negative. Okay, pay attention to number 9 and something different on each one of those. So what do we do first on number 9? Add 3. So we get 36x squared is 49. What do we do next? We want to divide. What is it that we want to divide by? Here? Yep, we want to divide by 36. So we get x squared is 49 over 36. We want to get rid of the square, so we what undoes the square? Square root. So square root both sides, and we get x equals, when we have a fraction inside a square root, we can rewrite it as the square root of the numerator divided by the square root of the denominator. What's the square root of 49? 7. Square root of 36? 6. So one of my answers is 7, 6. What's my other answer? Negative 7, 6. Really easy to forget that negative one. Okay, on number 10. 10 is even more difficult. What would we do first on this one? You could. There's an easier way to do this one, but that will work. We would do the square root. Yes, that's the easiest way. We're going to do the square root. And so we get x minus 4. It undoes the square. Does that make sense? Yeah. And we get 6. However, what's different about this one is when we take that square root 36, it becomes x minus 4 equals, besides 6, it's x minus 4 equals negative 6. So that's what's a little different about this one. So you could have multiplied it out and then factored it. You get the same answer as long as you did those steps right. So we're going to add the 4 now. So we get x equals 10 and x equals -2. So our answers are 10 and -2. And if you plug those in, 10 minus 4 gives you 6 squared, gives you 36. If we take -2 minus 4, that gives me -6 squared, which gives me 36 also. Okay.
The microphone.
Thank you.